Alright then people, hello, how are we doing? So, we did the Saturday Skin Showcase, and we've mentioned quite a lot of things that we need to get our heads wrapped around. So, the first week of the Halloween Rustle rotation of 2022, and the amount of sales have been insane. So, I thought, why not just quickly take a look and see what things are looking like on the front page of Rust at the moment? No Halloween items. Uh-oh, what's going on? What about on the second page? Okay, no Halloween items still. I'm quite literally talking about items, and there you go, there's the Carvable pumpkin. The very item I've been discussing these past few months and what went wrong. It didn't necessarily go terribly wrong, it just didn't go terribly right. So, this was reintroduced as I was expecting, but it didn't really rise up in price that much, and I could easily attribute that to far too many people putting too much high stock on the market. So I've mentioned this before many times. All I have to do is just show you what other people see. So when people look at this, people without the extension that I have, they see that there's 448 of these on the market, and they see that it's selling for $3.74 instead of the price it's selling for in the Rust store, which I can quickly show you. It's selling for $5.99 is what I wanted to say. But the point I was mentioning before is if you were to go ahead and try and buy this, it would point out, oh hey, you could buy this from the Steam market instead for a cheaper price. It seems that didn't really make that much of a difference. So when this first initially appeared, it did spike up a fair bit, and then it didn't. And it didn't reach a match to the price it's currently selling for in the Rust store. It's nowhere near $5.99. It instead is selling for $3.74 now. The price has slowly gone down, and the buy order support kind of just isn't there to keep it rising up and up and up and up and up. Now, one of the copes I mentioned was loads of people couldn't really play on Thursday night when the update came out, so maybe over into the weekend, which is now, people and kids could sit down and play Rust, and then feel incentivized to go ahead and then buy out all the Halloween items that there are, make their base look really cool and whatnot. But it doesn't seem to be happening. Now, I do know a lot of European kids right now have half term off, so they've got the whole week off. Maybe they'll be playing Rust a lot. But I'm not seeing the price go up. I have seen the quantity go down. That's definitely happened. But I'm not seeing the price go up. And this is quite troublesome. So, yeah, I've listed a fair few here and there. Because I bought mine for $1. I'm going to make a decent profit regardless. I'm just concerned for everybody else. I would not buy this. And I would not buy 100 of these on buy order like I did, because I'm going to struggle to sell all of them. Yeah, so this is a lesson learned, and the lesson we've learned from here is what we can apply to the other Halloween items that just got introduced this year. So let's now move on to discussing the skins of this week. So refresh just to double check. I want to quickly point out that the Cultist Deer Skull Mask, the Witch Altar Locker, and the Zombie Bearskin Rug, after 24 hours, already sold over 20,000 each. So, it is now 48 hours since the Rustle rotation, technically speaking, about 52 hours. But, yeah, Deer Skull Mask is in a bit of a problem. Do you remember, way back when, with the first appearance of a poncho skin, that I sat here and said, wow, we are probably never going to see another poncho skin appear for a long time. This is probably going to be quite good, quite valuable in the long term. Lo and behold, we saw 3 more right after that. The point I was trying to sit there and say is, far too many people bought the Arctic Camo poncho when it first appeared, and then by luck we started seeing more and more ponchos appear, and suddenly this poncho skin just wasn't so special anymore. Now, what's special about the Cultist Deer Skull Mask is, well, we just don't see many of them. This is the 5th one that's been introduced, and yeah, it beat the highest selling Rudolph Skull Mask, so that sold 13,000. It was the highest selling Deer Skull Mask before. It beat that in a day. It beat that in less than a day. So, problems. I'm seeing a very similar pattern with the likes of Arctic Camo Poncho. Now that struggled already by itself. When we only had the Arctic Camo Poncho, it struggled because over 40,000 sold. There was far too many that were bought in comparison to actual people that wanted to use it, so the balance was skewed and the price went down. With the amount that have been bought for the Cultist Deer Skull Mask, it's honestly looking like that's in trouble now. I'm sure Mr. Koo is very happy with all the amount of sales that he's got there, but that's trouble. Far too many sales. Let's wait until Wednesday and see how many have sold then. But over 28,000 sales in 48 hours is not a nice thing to look at. And with that, we can move on to the Witchwater Locker, because I did mention that earlier this year we were in the same weird position with the Outer Planets Locker. So many of these were being bought like crazy when this first appeared. And my answer was, you know what? We're very likely not going to see another locker skin for quite some time. Lo and behold, we saw one a fair few months later in Halloween time. I am surprised that this was made, and I'm happy to see it being accepted, because people that desperately wanted to get an affordable locker skin now has two decent options. But did this go up in price when, ever since this first appeared, and when the Rust rotated after that, did this go up in price? It did. And at one point, it was selling for around, at its highest point, when I can see the details. Come on, you can do it. Click this. So SCM will actually point out the highs and the lows. If you go to the right week when the skin came out, just click it, and it'll give you a very nice batch of information to the left. So if I just scroll down, we can see it right there. Its lowest point, that was a glitch. So don't think that was a glitch, unfortunately, that SCM doesn't seem to realise. But the highest point was $3.13. This $1.99 skin at one point sold for $3.13. Times were good during the middle of August, but times aren't good now as we approach November time. So, this Witch Locker... Oh, I should also point out, the Cultist Deer Skull Mask is not abnormal. So that's a problem. Witchwater is abnormal. So that's a positive that we can work with. The Witchwater is abnormal. We can do our buy orders. We can look at the support afterwards, and then we can make a decision whether or not we want to buy any on Thursday. If you've already bought some, okay. But plenty other people have bought some. And it looks like by the end of potentially tomorrow or Monday, we will surpass the amount of sales that the Outer Planets had. Now, we went from about 20,000 sales each on these, and now this is 28, this is 26, this is 26 almost as well. What I'm sitting here saying is, we only got 6,000 sales today in comparison to 20,000 yesterday. So, it looks like it's slowing down now, but I do potentially see that we're going to surpass the 33,000 mark that the Outer Planets Locker had. It did still go up in price, and we are going through the bad times now, so yes, it's ever so slightly below its Rust door price. But this, it's very gimmicky for Halloween, isn't it? Not super in-your-face gimmicky, but the pumpkins and whatnot. But when we saw hardly any locker skins being added, even the likes of the Christmas one rose up in price very nicely. That's super gimmicky for Christmas. Right now it's selling for $8.50, even during these bad times. So, doesn't matter. You might sit there and say, oh, it's too gimmicky for Halloween. Well, look at this. This is super gimmicky for Christmas, and it still did well. So do keep that in mind as well. If we happen to not see any more locker skins for the next, let's say, post-Christmas time, that very comfortably will rise up in price. And why? Because loads of people will be playing during the Christmas break, whether they're kids in school or people out of work at the time, break for Christmas break and whatnot. Loads of people will be playing Rust. Loads of people will have Christmas money. Loads of people will be playing Rust and buying Rust skins. They're going to buy a locker skin if they are in a big clan. You get the idea. So I wouldn't be surprised if these do bounce back and rise up in price. Technically speaking, all of these could potentially go up in price when it's post-Christmas time. Most skins do. So let's just move on to the Zombie Bearskin Rug. Chat, when we do questions, we do them afterwards. Is that alright? Let me do all of the skins first, then we'll discuss the things afterwards. Your questions afterwards. Zombie Bearskin Rug. So, this is the first bearskin rug that we've had in 2 years. And the most recent one was of course, the Werewolf Rug. But, so if we go by newest, The amount of sales that this has had beat the highest selling one before, in a day as well. So again, we're seeing a situation where this new thing has already beaten the highest selling previous one that appeared. Now, the best thing I can do to show you how likely this is going to behave is to show you the Werewolf Rug. So the Werewolf Rug came out in late 2020, and this came out just before offline TV era. So offline TV era happened during the Christmas of this year into January, February time. That's when we saw a huge spike of players. That's when we saw a huge spike in demand for all the skins. So if we learn from this history, it might be a bit skewered, but we can still learn from the very specific point of this point here. Actually, let's go about here. So we didn't really see the major effects of offline TV until a fair bit later. But what I want to point out was when the Werewolf Rug appeared, it was selling for $1.49, the same price that this is selling for. It went below its Rustall price. It struggled for a while, and at one point, just before Christmas, this was selling for like 90 cents to $1. It wasn't doing very greatly. But then, post-Christmas time, it still went up in price. But do you see, a $1.49 skin here went down to around 90 cents to $1 at one point. It wasn't doing very greatly. That was oversaturated for its time. 15,000 sales. This right here currently is on 26,000 sales, and we've only just passed the second day. Do you see the potential problems that we are seeing? Do you understand that that zombie bearskin rug right there very likely will be suffering the same issues? This is going to have to be a long-term investment. Now, we don't see bearskin rugs that very frequent, do we? We don't see them appearing during the year that much anymore. It's unfortunate, but I guess it's very limited in how creative you can be with it. That's understandable. So the likelihood that we're ever going to see another bearskin rug anytime soon is very low. Very small, I want to sit there and say. But we are going to suffer with this. So if you're going to sit there and say, oh, what should I invest into? At the moment, it's just looking like, I think you're better off just doing buy orders. Now, this isn't abnormal, and that's going to be a problem. So wait until Wednesday, look how many sales it's had, and then make a decision. But that's looking oversaturated at the moment. Bear skins do get used a lot. They're one of the best comfort providers in a base. You know, you can put them on the ceiling and whatnot. It's helpful. But it's also very good glow in the dark. And we did show that off, didn't we? Like, if you want to coordinate yourself around your base and you don't have lights, that's going to be very helpful. If you remember the positioning of where you put the bear rug on your ceiling, for example, and you know where everything is in correspondence to its arms, its head, his tail, then you'd know how to navigate through your base without lights on at night time. Because that glow in the dark is fairly bright. I was going to say very bright, but it's like super noticeable. We could sit there and say that. So yeah, a very bright glow in the dark bearskin rug. Let's see what happens. But I'm not rushing for it. I will do a buy order. But even then, I think people will do too high of a buy order and it's going to suffer. So I honestly expect all of these skins to suffer in the short term. I just want to sit there and say that right now. Over the course of November, I would not be surprised by it. So we do have to keep an eye out for super gimmicky skins for Halloween. But Zombie Furnace, for example, I don't think it's going to suffer that much. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to show you the comparison to the Spooky Slime Furnace. So Spooky Slime is one of the most expensive ones. Let's just take you over to there. Do you see it? Very similar. Yes, the Zombie Furnace is a whole lot more gruesome and scary looking, but the whole gimmick of it and whatnot, people liked it a lot. And that's now sitting there selling for $13. When I last looked at it, it was $14. But yeah, do you get the idea? Now that sold quite a high amount for 2018. That did very well for 2018. And I guess you could sit there and say, okay, how did it do in terms of the market? Well, it is a 4-year-old skin, so you're going to see some pretty decent looking leaps over the course of time. Again, post Christmas time. This was offline TV era, so a lot of skins, a lot of older skins, randomly spiked up in price during this era. And as you can see, that doubled in price right there. But yeah, during the very, 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 very beginning, this $3 skin actually went below its rush door price for a very small amount of time. It looks like it struggled for a little bit. It stagnated around $3, and then it just took off around December, and then post-Christmas, and then it was good. So people have always liked it. It never really went below its rush door price that much, and it's never really suffered too much. It did suffer a little bit here, and then it went up, and then... So yeah, it's done well for a long time. And can we see the same thing from what happened to here? Can we see happening to the zombie furnace? Because it's a very standout looking, interesting looking furnace skin. But at the moment, it's sold 23,000 in 2 days' time. I'm looking at your things. Remember, people, I'll answer your questions afterwards. With this, I want to sit here and say I might actually buy some of these. I do think it might struggle a bit, but it's abnormal. And this is $2, so I'm not surprised more people have bought them. It's not $3. Remember, a higher price tends to filter out people from buying too many. It's abnormal. It's abnormal. So I'm going to do a very decent buy order on it. And if the support is there, I will then consider buying some on the day. On the day. Sound good? On Thursday, sorry. Sorry about that. Should have been more clear. So yeah, Zombie Furnace looks very cool in game. It's very standout. Similar to a very expensive furnace skin. In the long term, I honestly think it's going to do very nicely. I think it has a bright future. But we do have to keep an eye on those sales. If we see far too many sales, yeah, then we might struggle. So, Right then. Let's now move on to talking about the pumpkin storage. So there was a point I wanted to talk about. I've already mentioned before. I'll talk about it again. There's a very similar box that came out last year, which was very gimmicky for Halloween, and I could probably find it if I just search through here. I should be. You know, I could just do newest. We haven't seen that many small boxes this year. So where is it? Small box. There it is. Ghost Pumpkin Small Box, and it's still below its rush door price. So what's wrong with this, Hedge? What are you talking about? Ghost Pumpkin Small Box appeared last year. It's just quite literally a fairly basic glow-in-the-dark pumpkin carving box. Okay, not too drastic, insane looking and whatnot, but gimmicky for Halloween, and it suffered like pretty quickly. So this was... Let's just remember, this was a $1.99 skin, so it was abnormal, and it suffered pretty much instantly. So, it came out, $2, went down, and down, and down, and down, and down, and down, and down. So basically, it reached to a point where it was selling for around $1 at one point. The $2 skin ended up at around $1 for a while. Too gimmicky for Halloween. It's not Halloween, price go down. Fairly simple. But then post-Christmas happens and it still goes up in price, but it didn't hold and it went back down again. But over the course of the past, I'd say 12 months, it had highs, it had lows, and it actually rose up in price because of the small box storage buff. All storages got buffed, all skins went up in price. But even then, it went down again, and then it went up a bit. And so far, during this current Halloween, it's now sitting here selling for $1.81. 38 of them on the market, not too far off from its rush door price. So, it took a long time for this to become a decent price. And even then, it's still below its rush door price at the moment. It's not like it's selling for $3 or anything. No. It's selling for $1.81. So what I'm trying to get across to you, all of you, is that sold 16,500. We've already passed that. This is extra gimmicky for Halloween. This quite literally is a pumpkin. Now I need to ask you the chat, YouTube as well, if you want to comment in the chat. Would you sit there and say you want to buy that? Would you use it during January? Would you use it during March? Would you use it during May? Would you use it during June, July? Do you get what I mean? Would you use that during a time when it's not Halloween? Or would you kind of be annoyed that you're using something that's specifically for Halloween? It's a bit awkward to ask. Sorry about that. But could you imagine plenty of other people don't want to use holiday gimmick skins when it's not appropriate? And that right there, it is abnormal, but I won't be offering a high price. I've learned from last year, I don't want to do a high price in it. Small storages have been buffed. They do get used a lot more now, so maybe I'll need to consider that. I do 2 buy orders at the same time, so I could play it safe, and then I could also offer a fair bit more. We've been talking a lot. Very sorry about that, but I've got a lot to explain to you because we've been through this process before. Well, I have, and I need to explain everything to you because I need to help you out in regards to making a profit. So, as I stated earlier, I still expect all of these to go below their rust store price at some point. So we've got to point out to you, we need to figure out the better prices to do. We need to figure out what's the better option to do. And at the moment, it's looking like buy orders are the way to go. So we know that this is abnormal, this is abnormal, this is abnormal, and the rocket launcher and the SAR are abnormal, right? We can do buy orders on them, wait for those extra hours in between until the next rust store rotation, and then we can consider whether or not to do the actually go ahead and do a purchase. We need to see the support. We need to see those buy orders and see if it's going to keep the price up. This is likely going to be a situation where we're not going to see that support, and we're probably not going to be making any purchases this week. But when you've got a lot of money available to you, maybe it doesn't matter that much. But we've got to save that for next Wednesday night. Wednesday, Thursday, the abnormal buy orders time. We'll discuss about pricing and strategy for that. But yeah, with the amount of sales that I'm seeing, it honestly looks like for all of these things, it looks like far too many have been bought. And they very likely will be thrown onto the market the very second it's not Halloween anymore. That's the worry. That is the worry. That's the thing. That's the very thing I needed to say to help people properly understand. The very second it's not Halloween, people will unload their Halloween stuff and try and sell it onto the Steam market. And with so many people trying to sell it, price down. So when the buying isn't equal to the selling, prices go down because people are undercutting each other. Sounds good. Spiderweb Poncho, I believe this has already surpassed the chainmail. Yes, it has. Wow, 2 days in, it's already surpassed chainmail. And chainmail is right now down 30%. So, Arctic Camo Poncho, down 33%. Chainmail Poncho, down 30%. Blackout Poncho, down 19%. Guys, no. No! I just avoid it. It's a cheap poncho. It's a cool design, but it's not going to last. I honestly don't think that's going to last. And it's not something I imagine people are going to be chasing after insanely for. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to just sit there and say no to that. It's not abnormal. It's going to be awkward, but I'll worry about that when the rust store rotation happens next Thursday, if I actually want to put money towards that. Because even right now, the Arctic Camo Poncho looks like it's going to end up at around 50 cents at some point. We'll move on to the next thing. Kraken shell, face mask and chest plate. So I did allude to a thing that happened last year's clothing and armour skins, and that is, well, how are they doing? How are last year's Halloween clothing and armour skins doing? Down 16%, down 25%, down 24%. Oh, well, that's not very good. How about if we move on to next week? Is there anything good there? Down 15%, down 42%, down 14%. It doesn't look good, does it? Doesn't look good. So, yeah. Armour and clothing skins for Halloween tend to do pretty badly. But what I could do is show you 2020. Is it a trend that... Oh, I've done Christmas. I've done that twice this past week. What am I doing? So, yeah. You've got to keep an eye on everything that's happened in the past. Look, Franken face mask, down 16%. Franken chest plate, down 19%. They haven't done greatly. Death mask is a very interesting glow-in-the-dark head wrap, burlap head wrap. It's up 6%. But this came out 2 years ago. It took a long time for that to go up in the positive. And then we'll move on to the week after this. So, what happens in week 2? Here we go. We got glow-in-the-dark hoodie and pants. This is down 2%. This is up 36%. I think I've shown enough clothing and hoodies to kind of get the point across that investing into Halloween clothing, hoodie, armor skins isn't the best of ideas. I definitely can see that's looking like a bad idea. I definitely can see that's looking like a bad idea. And with these two, I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. And is this going to be restricted to only being for Halloween? As in, right, so if we only got a chest plate and a face mask, is that it? People aren't going to want that. It's an incomplete collection. Do you get what I mean? So, yeah, I don't imagine it's going to be doing greatly. It's got 13,000 sales already, true, but everybody seems to be spending their money at the moment. So, yeah, doesn't matter if it's got a decent amount of sales for each thing. I just personally wouldn't. It's not abnormal either, so that's also going to be a bit of a pain. I just wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being 50 cents each, much like what happened with the likes of pumpkin chestplate and face mask last year. They got cheap, very cheap, and I bought a lot of them, but I put down a very cheap offer, and I still profited from them. If you know how to approach this, you can still profit from it, and it might get to a point where you only offer around 30 cents. Hey, if it works, it works. Right, Ancient Curse Rocket Launcher. So, this hasn't sold as much as I was anticipating, which is alright, nothing wrong with that. There's better potential chance in making some profits then. But the point I was trying to get across was the recent rocket launcher skins. We do not have quite a lot. We haven't seen many. So, just this past year, we've seen Ancient Curse Rocket Launcher, Antique Rocket Launcher, and Military Rocket Launcher came out in November of 2021. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of all of the rocket launcher skins that we have, only 4 of them are in the negative. Actually, I didn't see these. I'm colourblind. All right, 6. 6 out of what, 22? Okay, so problems. Oh wait, there's one there as well. Okay, I'm super colourblind. There's one there as well. Oh, okay, well, let's just get straight to it. This is awkward. The issue of not having many rocket launcher skins doesn't seem to be applying very well. We've seen with many other items that don't get many skins, people literally will just buy out what is available in the moment. And what I can also point out is we're starting to go through the bad times. Prices being down isn't a surprise. You know, this is only down by 2%. Maybe when it gets to Christmas time, a wink, wink, that's probably going to go up in price. Wink, wink. Because, Christmas-related cold winter theme skins rise up in price as we get closer to December time. It's just what people do. So, yeah. Times are bad now, but when times are good, you'll probably see all of these in the positive. So with that, it's a glow-in-the-dark rocket launcher. But we did just recently have a free rocket launcher given away, and that was Rocker 444. 44444. It had a glow-in-the-dark aim sight. It was helpful. People liked it. It's a cool design, but I'm probably just going to sit here and say it's abnormal. We don't need to rush into buying it. Haha. I need to see the support before I make a decision. And yeah, that's the safest way to approach this, and that's what everybody should be doing. You should be approaching this safely from now on, because times are bad, prices aren't good. You need to properly be aware, and you have to properly analyse, right, how many have sold, how likely is this going to get used, does it look cool, how likely is it going to rise up in price. Look based on the past and see how the other skins have fared recently that are the same item and whatnot, and get a good idea. With this, do you know what I could do? I could actually reference last year's military rocket launcher, because that does glow in the dark a little bit there as well. So you know what? How well did this do for post-Christmas? Not a bad shout. That's actually a pretty good idea. So it did go down pretty badly, as you can see. It appeared, and then it got bad. So during the beginning of December, it was very cheap. But towards the end of December, it had doubled in price. So from here to here, it doubled in price. So that might still go up in price. But if you're going to rely on post-Christmas, which is another 2.5 months away, probably not the best of things to invest towards. And again, how easy is it going to be to sell all of the quantity that you might have bought? So do be aware of that. Consider how many you're buying, and then also consider, right, how easy is it going to be to be able to actually sell these things? Right, that's good. Now we move on to Slime Monster, which for some reason isn't a Slime Monster collection. So last year we saw Slime Monster Tommy. This year we see Slime Monster SAR. SAR skins are in a bit of a rough patch at the moment. Again, bad times. And it shows with the SAR skins. So if we look at all of the SAR skins, yep. Quarantine SAR down 11%. Bullseye down 35%. Blackout down 30%. Nightwatch down 42%. Nightwatch... SAR skins aren't looking very pretty at the moment. So my initial response is it's abnormal. I don't need to rush into buying it. I can just do a buy order. And that is the smart, safer option to do. It has not been one of the most popular skins this year. And that might be good. That's going to be good. That very easily could be good. Why? Well, if everybody's focusing everything else, we know this isn't oversaturated. And when times are good, this very easily could bounce back and double, maybe triple in price. But we need to wait and see. So I'm actually looking at that with investor eyes, because yes, everyone's focusing everything else, but this right here, very cool, interesting design. If you were to compare it to all of the other SAR skins from the past, what's a wacky design that we could look at? What about the candy one, Candyman? That's now selling for $4.77. When times are good, this sells for like $6 to $7, $8. It does very nicely. That's the type of thing you want to compare the Slime Monster to. Maybe Cold Hunter as well, but Cold Hunter definitely gets a bit of a boost for December. Yeah, cool looking skins, so I'm looking forward to it. And I think as time goes on, long-term investment, that will do very nicely. So we shall see. Zombie cap. So this was the point I mentioned. We haven't seen many cap skins in a long time. And the cap skins that have come out in the past, they've comfortably gone up in price. Why? Well, we don't see many new cap skins come out, and these didn't sell that much. This is only selling around $4 though. And do you see how this is only selling for $2? This is barely selling above 99 cents, so at $1.28. If you're going to sit there and say, should I invest into this? I'm going to sit there and say, well, where are the profits? Where are the profits? There's no profits. There's hardly anything there. The only one that's done reasonably well is this, and that only sold 110 apparently, or rather, SCMM can only track 110. There's hardly any quantity, but it's still only $4. I'm surprised the manipulators haven't bought this out, because there's hardly any stock. But maybe it's super hard to be able to grab all of it. I don't know what the manipulators get up to, so I've tracked them, but I don't know how they choose what skins to pick out. Like at the moment, I think they're buying out all of the ladybug pants. Well, there you go, right there. They're buying out all the ladybug pants. So yeah, and Secret Recipe Satchel is now selling for that price. You're kidding me. Oh my. Yep, that looks like it's getting boosted. It looks like it's being bought out. Chat, you might want to attack. That looks like people have just started manipulating it. What do you mean? Well, they buy out a massive bunch of stock now, wait a few weeks, and then later on they sell it for a whole lot more. Well, they start buying out the stock again and making it appear to be a whole lot more valuable than what it actually is. And, well, you get the idea. So we'll talk about that for another thing. But yeah, Ladybug cosplay plants are being manipulated, and now that looks like it's only just begun to be manipulated. They just bought out the stock. And yeah, so don't want to detract too much. We need to discuss the new items now. So, new items. Go. So, problems. This is selling for $8. This is selling for $3. This is selling for $4. I showed this off in the Saturday Skin Showcase, and I did point out how Halloween items are very likely going to struggle. Why? Because they're in the rush store for 2 weeks. The rush store will rotate, and all the skins will disappear. So, what skins? The ones that aren't items. So, this, those items, they'll disappear. But all the Halloween items, these will stay. They will stay. They're not going to disappear. They should stay. Should. If they don't stay, I will be surprised. So only the skins will be rotated. The Halloween items will stick around. And that leads me to be a bit worried. Because if you're going to sit there and say, okay, what happens if the hockey mask has tons of support? What happens if it has all the buy orders? Do you know what will happen? People will notice and people will buy more. Because it's going to be in the rush store for 2 weeks. People will notice if it's doing good or bad. If it's doing too good, people will buy more. And when people buy more means oversaturation, more means more problems because more people are trying to sell them when it's not Halloween and whatnot, and then the price easily could go down in price. Now, When I saw the roster rotation first happen and I saw that, my first thought was, hang on a minute, Chinese New Year. Wait, Hedge, what are you on about? Chinese New Year has special masks, don't they? So, earlier this year, we had the introduction of the, where are you? Ox mask. Right, so that sold for $6.49, now it's selling for $1.90. Uh-oh, New Year collection. Right, so the Dragon Mask originally came out and sold for $9.49, now it sells for $5.90. The Rat Mask sold for $8.99, now it sells for $10.32. What I want to quickly show you is what immediately happened to this the very second it wasn't Chinese New Year. Do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see? So, what price was it again? $9.49. Sold for around $3 to $4. And then it got lower. And at this point, it was selling for $3. Chat, this is a similar pattern that I would expect. So let's go look at the likes of... Tiger Mask was this year. Well, they're still the same. Still same problems. So if I click this... This was the $6.49 skin that appeared earlier this year, back in late February or early February? One of them. Basically earlier this year. How have you behaved the very second it wasn't Chinese New Year? So it just went down. But it seems to have held up at around $2. So this was a $6.49 skin, and it held up at around $2. Right now it's sitting here at $2.30 almost. So higher priced new items tend to suffer. They tend to suffer pretty quickly, and they take a long time to recover. That's the point I was trying to get across. And this is something that you need to be aware of with these expensive items, more specifically the hockey face mask. Now, what is the face mask that I was thinking of? I've definitely seen something very similar to a hockey mask before. We've got to go take a look. I think it was the Glory Mask. So you got Glory Mask right there. But was there actually another actual hockey mask that came out before? No. So it is unique. Okay, but Glory is... Well, then you got horror... Oh, hang on a minute. Look, you got it right there. No, it's already happened. This came out when? 2019. It's already out. Why spend $8 when you can just get one for $1? Why spend $8 when you can just get that? I knew there was another one. That's it. Horror face mask. Came out ages ago. Highest buy order is $1.11. That's $1.30. Anyway. I can sit here and keep talking and worrying and pointing out all the potential problems. Guys, that hockey face mask will not hold its value. It very likely will go down to around $2 to $3. Now, there's the added point that, well, hang on a minute. What happens next year? What is it going to get brought back? It very likely will. But I wouldn't be surprised if it gets brought back at a lower price. Maybe $6.99, maybe $6.49, maybe $5.99. If you buy them at a very decent low price... As time goes on, yes, they will get cheap and probably cheaper. But if you have that low ball buy order that's just perfect, then when they potentially get reintroduced next year, or regardless, as we creep into the anticipation period for Halloween next year in 2023, that very easily could rise up in price and it becomes a nice investment if you figure out the best price to put down. Now, how do you figure out the best price? Well, I did show you the likes of the Chinese New Year stuff. You could look at the other previous expensive Halloween items that have come out in the past and see how they've behaved before. Skull Trophy might be a good one. Let's go take a look at you. So you appeared like 2 or 3 years ago. You were expensive when you first appeared, but yeah, there's a problem, and that is offline TV era happened literally just after. So this can be a bit awkward. Maybe the past year might be a bit better. Let's do that. So just this past year, as in 2021, it came out. It was reintroduced at the same price it was first introduced at. And yeah, it went down, and it went down, and it went down, and it went down, and it went down. And this actually lasted, it got as low as $6. And then it went up for post-Christmas, and then it kind of slowly went down ever since then. And so actually the lowest point is actually March 3rd of this year. But then we had that weird period of time where prices rose up towards the end of April. I'm not sure why that happened. So if we go from here to here, which is about 8 weeks, it kind of almost doubles in price. But yeah, do you understand that it's very likely going to stagnate? It's going to have problems. It's going to slowly trend downwards. The smartest option I could go with is just a bit lower than 50% of its value. I would not be surprised if it gets built back again next year. I would not be surprised if it rises up in price as we get closer to Halloween. And I would not be surprised if when it's reintroduced, much like with the Carvable pumpkin, we could see an instance where people start buying out the ones on the Steam market rather than buying them from the Rust store because it's cheaper in the Steam market. But even then, the Carvable pumpkin this year didn't do greatly, did it? So we have to be cautious. We have to be extra cautious. Maybe just a $2 buy order on it this week. That's probably maybe the best option to go. And then with a baseball bat, oh wow, it's a mace skin. Cool. Do people even use maces? We talked about this in the Saturday Skin Showcase. It's very likely that people just don't really have the need to use it. Alright, role players. Maybe role players could make a good use of it. Possibly, that could happen. But I did make a good mention of the likes of the spacesuit. The spacesuit hazmat skin, the first hazmat skin that came out. It lost a lot of thunder, a lot of interest when other permanent hazmat skins were being introduced. Suddenly, it wasn't the only hazmat suit. There's plenty more that have appeared, and people didn't care too much about the spacesuit one anymore, which unfortunately caused the spacesuit to slightly lose some value. It's still popular and it's still fairly valuable, but it used to be more valuable, is the point I'm trying to say. So what do you reckon we might see more mace skins potentially come out? Do you reckon we might see some more it's getting a one-hit buff? Thank you for pointing that out, Meta. So I was aware of the buff. I didn't know it was a one-hit kill buff. No, it's a one-hit barrel buff, isn't it? Oh, okay. I remember that. So that's a good thing. So this is something that we also have to be prepared for. Whenever an item or a weapon gets a buff, people start using it more and value goes up. Now, earlier this year, we saw a buff to the slugs, the shotgun ammo, slugs ammo, and the best weapon that utilizes it was the pump shotgun. All the pump shotgun skins went up in price. We discussed this. So if this does get a buff that's super helpful, aka hitting barrels very quickly or reasonably quickly, then it probably will increase its usage, and with more usage equals more demand to use the skins. So demand. More demand it has in actual gameplay usage, the more potential demand that people are going to want to use the skin. So that's something we will have to keep an eye out for. That is something that we will have to consider. But still, I would not be surprised if that goes below its Rust store price. It, at the very least, likely will go below half price. So it'll probably go down to about $1.50 at some point. Maybe less. Cultist Deer Torch is nice. It's cool. It's the first torch skin that we've ever had. However, you can't really see it. You can't really see it, and that's a problem. In my eyes, when you're holding it up, only other people are only ever going to really notice that you have it. Now, if you want to show off and say, hey, I've got money. Some people do like to show off. Some people quite literally will buy something expensive purely with the point of, hey, just to have other people sit there and say, oh, wow, he's got a big grin. He must be rich. People do like that. Some people show off with their talent in game, with their ability to use all the guns effectively, and other people just like to dress up really nicely with expensive stuff. There's two different ways of making people go, wow. Well, intrinsic and extrinsic influences, but you wouldn't want to learn about all that. So, by default, all these new Halloween items, I do expect them to potentially go down in price. Skull Rock is a great instance of a Halloween item that does get used a lot throughout the year. Because Skull Rock, by default, it's just a skull. It's a very cool looking rock skin. So how well did that do throughout all of the past year? Well, what do I see right here? It went down in price initially, then it went up, then it went down, and up, and then up. And then functional usage was there. People were using it. And it did spike up in price around August time because we were getting closer to Halloween. The anticipation for Halloween was drawing in. But it did go down in price because people were also anticipating it being reintroduced. Lo and behold, it was reintroduced. So if you want to get a good idea of an item that does kick off and get used quite a fair bit, Skull Rock is probably the best thing to keep an eye out for, and it has always kept itself above that $4 mark. So Skull Rock did get used quite a fair bit. It held its value. Will we see the likes of Cultist Deer Torch, Baseball Bat? Will they have functional usage buff? As in, will people actually be using these? Is there a demand to use these in game? Will they have the increased demand to use their skins? That's basically it. And you never know. Maybe they'll introduce a Christmas torch skin. Maybe they'll introduce a Christmas bat. Santa's hockey stick? I wouldn't say no. Maybe we'll get a hockey stick. Face punch. Face punch, I've given you a golden idea right there. Can we have a hockey stick for a mace skin? Yeah, that would be a good idea. So, yeah, that is that. I know there's quite a lot of rambling there, but a lot of people are probably getting a whole bunch of skins dumped on them like I am right now. In fact, I could probably go check right now. Have I bought a whole bunch of random skins? Maybe not on this account, but this account right here. I lost a lot of money on this account fairly recently because a whole bunch of skins are getting dropped off to me. But hey, with the prices that I offered, I'm buying these at prices I know I'll easily be able to flip at a much higher price when post-Christmas happens. So yes, come and sell me your graffiti clove storage at only $2, because when it's post-Christmas time, I think I'll sell it for more. So, you learn from these things. You understand how this routine plays out pretty much every single year. I understand it's awkward. I understand there's a lot to take in. But, yeah, it's all good. No, chat, do you have any questions? Now we can do the Q&A, because this is a long video anyway, so we might as well add more to it. Chat, do you have any specific questions that you feel like you want to ask right here, right now? So, that's a great thing to point out, Hyper. A lot of people are not from America. Our currencies are suffering. And a lot of people might feel the need to sell skins now, get some money, and if their currencies recover, I'm from England, so the pound isn't doing too very good, most likely because we just had a prime minister that wasn't very good, and now she's already been sacked after 6 weeks. We've suffered, but usually, with the money I have, with the buy orders I do, I always have to anticipate that the pound might get stronger or weaker. And at this point, I can only expect it to get stronger from here on now. So the buy orders I do, I have to be very aware of. This is something we will have to discuss when we do buy orders, the abnormal buy orders, this Wednesday night, Thursday morning next week. So if you want to pop in and be around for that, we'll be there for that. That's all good. But yeah, our pumpkin's ruined. Carvable pumpkins, we did talk about this at the very beginning. Carvable pumpkins had far too many people selling them. There's 358. Price now is 372. I reckon it's going to stick at around $4. Coot, I reckon the price of this is going to be sticking at around $4 for quite some time. The buy order support doesn't seem to be really increasing that much. And then you also have to take into consideration how many people bought these. Now, does anybody know if they're going to bring back the carving competition? Rust, so face punch carving competition. They did this last year. Are they doing it again? Yeah, so here was last year. They had a prize of like $100 worth of skins. Come on, face punch blog, load up. There you go. So they announced, hey, we're going to do a carving competition. There you go. Click this. So they did this last year. Ooh. Are they doing this again this year? I didn't see anything to point it out. But yeah, you could win $100 worth of skins and both DLCs. So that was interesting. But they haven't announced it this year. And if they did announce this year, I would have assumed people probably would have wanted to buy up the carvable pumpkins. It was one of the things I was hoping to see, but it didn't happen. Someone did mention that there might be a competition again. So maybe maybe we will see the carvable pumpkin go up in price, because you need a carvable pumpkin to be able to take part in the carvable pumpkin competition. So, yeah. The tweet mentioned a competition. Alright, okay, so we got that potentially on the horizon. So, as I said, you're going to need a carvable pumpkin to take part in the carving competition. Maybe these get bought out. So, that's something for us to consider. Can you look? I don't have a Twitter. I don't have a Twitter either. I'm a perfectly sane person. But we can check Face Punch Twitter. It wasn't mentioned. So they did mention, oh yeah, pumpkin carving, but they didn't mention a pumpkin carving competition. Greetings, survivors. Yeah, okay, so there was some bug fixes. Pumpkin carving competition. It's not mentioned in the blog. There's a QA role? Ooh, okay. Let's go take a look at this. Halloween 2022. A Darkness Falls. Scroll down. Carving. Competition. No mention of a competition. So, yeah, we might be screwed. Any other questions? Cauldron has 141 buy orders at $5.98 in the market, but in store it's $4.98. Why would that be? Because people didn't sell theirs. And you know what? People probably bought some from the Rust store and plan to sell them on the Steam market if they can. So, Cursed Cauldron. Cursed Cauldron, currently here, sitting at $5.55. No, £5.55. It's currently selling at $6.17. Right now, in the Rust store, it's selling for $4.99. Okay. Someone could probably have bought some of these the very second they appeared in the Rust store, and the very second they become marketable, the price is probably going to crash. The buy orders are going to go down. This guy right here probably doesn't even realise that these got reintroduced, or he probably doesn't realise they're on for sale at $5 each. This poor guy is going to have a rude awakening. So yeah, he shouldn't be doing that buy order. That's just one careless guy not being aware of the current situation, basically. Someone's mentioning cheaper pumpkins on the subreddit. Cheaper pumpkins. Apparently you can get these cheaper in the community market, but when I click the link it tells me there's no such item on the Steam market. Is this some kind of bug? Oh, don't tell me. Don't tell me. This is all because of a bug. It's because of a bug, isn't it? Is it? Right, so there's something that's happened fairly recently. Steam's been acting very weird. It would actually, when you click a link, it would send you to the skin, whatever game it was, but it would do it lowercase. And this is what happens when you do lowercase. So carvable pumpkin doesn't work. That's what happens. And I've seen that happen many times, and I reckon that's what he saw. But if you make them capitalised, there you go. It works. Capitalisation matters with skins on all Steam games, apparently. Because this happens with CSGO, TF2, you name it. So yeah, that matters. Yeah. And probably just because of that, people haven't been able to go to the Steam market and buy them out. Oh, that hurts me inside because of a bug. So, yeah. Anything else? Yes, CSGO Rio major stickers have come out just last night, and they're not super flashy and super amazing, but because it's still a new thing, people very likely still will put their money towards them. So yeah, in fact I could just probably show you right here, right now. Let's just go to CSGO, and I want to see the Rio Hollows, for example. Hold on, let's go take a look at that. Rio Hollows. Rio Hollows. They've got these borders, and not everybody's super keen with the borders. Some of them are pretty expensive. Simple Hollow right there. Can we see some team stickers? So we've got some mouse stickers there. Yeah, I could just show these two. So this is an autograph. Looks pretty cool, but the borders, CSGO people don't like borders that much, and that as well. That's a very weird border on that, but it's still selling for around $11, $12. Yep. So When there's expensive things to invest into in CSGO, people are going to liquidate their skins in other games and whatnot and put it towards CSGO. And that means these very likely could be affected. The next 4 to 5 weeks are going to be very, very, very awkward, but it's also a great opportunity to jump in and buy some cheap skins, especially for Christmas time. Perfect. Sounds good. Wonderful. Right. So, that's that. I probably could still answer some questions, but it's all CSGO questions now. What do you think about the hockey mask? Oh, buddy, you've literally turned up at just the wrong moment.